Hi, I'm Mike Steven, and this is another episode of Gear Up. Today we're going to talk about cross-country skis. There's a lot to talk about with cross-country skis, but we're going to go over the basics. We're going to go over how to select the correct length of cross-country ski, why you'd select different types of cross-country skis, and we're going to go over a little bit about the boots, a little bit about poles as well. So let's start off with the cross-country skis. Cross-country skis, a lot of people think that it has a fair bit to do with the height of the skier. I hear this a lot. Put your arm up, make the ski land right in your wrist. That's fairly accurate if you're average height, average weight. But the best way to size a cross-country ski is by weight. The ski doesn't care how tall you are. It does know how much you weigh by how the grip pocket closes, so how you get grip and how you get glide. We're going to explain that grip pocket right now. On a cross-country ski, you have something in it called camber. Camber is the spongy stuff in between the ski. What skis are designed to do is they're designed to glide on the tips and the tails, and they're designed to get grip in the center of the ski. So your weight has to be such that if you put all your weight onto one ski, you're able to close that camber completely and gain grip in the center section. But when you balance your weight onto both skis for the glide portion of cross-country skiing, you want to be up on the tip and the tail gliding without the scales or your grip wax or whatever you're using to get your grip. There are several different types of grip out there. There is waxable skis, and what they mean by waxable, it means that the grip portion is waxable to get your grip, meaning you're using a grip wax to get grip versus these mechanical scales. There's a new technology that came out, and it's called skin technology. We're going to talk about that in a little while and why it might be better than the scale technology and why people are so interested in it. But first, we're going to discuss disciplines of ski. So this is what's called a backcountry cross-country ski. What makes it so is that it's a little bit wider, so you get a little bit better flotation in the snow. If you look closely here, there's a metal edge also on the ski, which gives you some stability when you're coming through adverse conditions, icy, crusty, that kind of stuff. Out in the backcountry or when you're making your own trails, you don't necessarily have your choice of what Mother Nature is going to throw at you. So the metal edge just gives you a much more support. The wider platform gives you much more stability for taking off through the trees, in powder, snow, and just a bigger stable platform. So that's backcountry cross-country. Best suited for taking off behind your house, going out and stomping out in the trails, maybe with your dog, that kind of stuff. Next up, we have the standard cross-country ski. There's two disciplines to cross-country skiing. Classic, which is the forward movement of kick and glide, and skate, which looks much more like ice skating, where the skiers are moving at a faster pace and need a very, very well-groomed trail. This is a classic ski still, just like the first ski we looked at, but this ski is much narrower and has that technology that I talked about called skin technology. And the skin, what it does is this skin is what offers your grip. The neat thing about skins is they glide far, far better than scales will ever glide. They also make no noise. Scales on rougher surfaces or icier surfaces will make a little bit of a zip noise because as the scales are going over top, whereas these guys are absolutely silent. So they're actually quite peaceful to ski on, and they're significantly faster. The fastest technology out there for skiing still is to wax this portion with grip wax. Having said that, that takes some expertise and it takes some time. So a lot of people aren't interested in doing that. This technology is the closest to a waxable ski that they have yet. In terms of efficiency, you're probably about 10% off of the efficiency of a waxable ski, whereas with scales, you're probably 30 to 40% off the efficiency of the waxable ski. So this new skin technology is interesting a lot of people. It's just that set it down and go skiing, but you have a ton of efficiency. Some people say, well, why do I want to go faster? Well, going faster just means that you can do more trails. For the same amount of energy that you're going to put out, you're going to get to see more country, and you're going to get to do more corners and more hills and more fun stuff out there. The last discipline to cross-country skiing is called skate. So skate Again, we talked about this in terms of needing a trail that's very well groomed, because you're going to need a trail that's probably about a meter and closer to 2 meters wide to skate with. And it's very similar to hockey skating, that you plant your feet on an angle, and that's how you get your grip. Your grip actually comes from the edge. People ask a lot of times again, is this metal edge on these guys because you're getting grip? No, it's just a reinforced sidewall here. That's enough to get the grip that you need on manicured trails or groomed trails. The things about skate skiing that are interesting is, again, you're not using any grip wax, so it's just a glide wax that you're going to apply to these. And I'll go over that right now too. A lot of people talk about no wax skis. No wax skis just means that you don't use any wax in the grip portion. All skis should be waxed with glide wax, whether you're got skin technology on there, the scales, or using grip wax. You should also use something called glide wax that covers the tip and the tail. Glide wax makes the ski move much more efficiently, stops you from sticking to the snow. So that term of wax-less skis just means that you're not using a grip wax. You still should be waxing the tip and the tail with a hot wax, a liquid wax, different waxes. Okay, so back to skate. So skate, the characteristics of skate are, it's very, very much so an aerobic workout. It's hard to get yourself up to speed and be efficient at it. But once you get there, it is a significantly faster sport than classic. A skater compared to a classic skier is going to move down the trail at much greater speeds. They are having to work hard for that, but they do get to move down the trail at much greater speeds. So a lot of people that cycle seriously or run seriously, this is their wintertime activity, is skate skiing. Go out there, you can absolutely gut yourself in a half an hour and 45 minutes, get a great workout, and be back at home sipping hot chocolate in an hour. So the bindings, we're going to talk about the bindings just briefly. There are two different styles of bindings out there. There is what's called NNN, and that's instead of just one groove being put down the ski, there's two grooves. There's also this, which is called SNS. That's the basic two big differences. So you need to have the binding that obviously interfaces with your boot, because you want the bottom ridges on the boot to be able to interface with the track here. So when looking at bindings, just make sure you're getting the correct binding for the boot. I usually say buy the boot first, and then that will choose your binding, because it's far more important that you get a comfortable fitting boot than you get the binding of your choice. Bindings are all fairly similar. Yes, there's some differences between them, but like I say, let the boot choose your binding. It's a simpler way to do it. We're going to briefly touch on boots here. This is kind of our meat and potatoes staple boot that we sell a lot of. The features that people like about a boot like this is good ankle support, Thinsulite lined, a gaiter to keep snow out of your lacing system, and a closure across the top to tighten down that ankle support. So with this boot, you're going to be warm, you're going to be comfortable, and you're going to have a reasonable amount of support. So something like this is a classic boot. We talked about backcountry cross-country, and backcountry cross-country is this stuff. So that metal edge ski needs a little bit more powerful boot to drive it. So this guy looks a little bit more like a hiking boot. Has a beefier binding system on the bottom. This one's using NNN. If you remember, we talked about 2 grooves versus 1 groove. This is 2 grooves, so it's NNN. This boot is much more stable in the upper, much more stable across the sole, because a backcountry boot, again, is going to be running into all sorts of variances in terrain, and you're just hiking through the bush is what you're actually doing. So it's fitting that it's very close to a hiking boot. This boot is a unique boot, and I just want to touch quickly on this boot because it's a good thought for cross-country skiers to potentially think about the type of boot that they want to use. The reason why is because for each different discipline, you use a different boot. This boot is a highly versatile boot. It's called a combination boot. So a combination boot means that it can do classic, it can do skate, and believe it or not, this guy can actually power a backcountry ski as well. So as long as it's not a super wide backcountry ski, it can power a backcountry ski. So the really neat thing about it is that you're going to have different skis for your different disciplines, but sometimes you can get away with just one boot that matches into each of those interfaces. So the last thing that we're going to talk about is cross-country ski poles. Again, we're just doing a really light touch on all of these things. Cross-country ski poles, what happens as they move up in price? What happens is they're going to get a lot lighter. They're going to get more comfortable grips. They're going to get these things called fit straps that your hand just kind of goes into like this, wraps. I don't even have to be gripping the pole to be pushing off of the pole. So it allows you to be much more efficient and much more relaxed on your skis. This particular pole has something called Just Click, so that if you have to answer your cell phone, you push this red button right here at my fingertip, out it comes, you can answer your phone, and then just click back in when you're ready to ski again. So again, cross-country poles, as a rule, you're going to find that they get more expensive as they get lighter, as they get stiffer. Why stiffer? Stiffer as you're pushing hard on the pole will start to flex. So especially skaters like a better quality pole because they're really pushing from their upper body on the pole. So the stiffer the pole, the more energy that makes you go down the trail. Lighter, well, that one's just obvious. It's just really nice to have a light feeling pole in your hand. Again, you probably won't notice it if you're doing 10 cross-country ski strides, but if you're doing several loops and thousands of cross-country ski poles, you're gonna notice a lighter pole. It's gonna feel nicer in your hand. It's gonna feel less wearing on your body. You know what, that's been a super fast go over on cross-country. But if you have any more questions, pop into your local shop. They'll help you out and they'll help you discern what gear will work best for which situation you're planning on going. Thanks for watching. This has been another episode of Gear Up. Hi, I'm Mike Stephen and this is Gear Up. Today we're going to talk about wax and how it's relevant to the cross-country ski world and to the alpine world. We'll start in the alpine world because it's a little bit simpler. The alpine world meaning snowboarding and alpine skiing or downhill skiing. So why you put wax on your skis or your board is to make your board glide better or move down the mountain faster or more efficiently. So what you need to do that is glide wax. There's a few different types of glide wax. Just keep in mind, the easier it is to put on, the easier it is to come off. So there's spray-on glide waxes that you can just apply to the base of your snowboard or to your skis. It's like a bingo dabber. Applies on the bottom there, dries in about 5 minutes, and it'll probably last you 4 or 5 runs, 6 or 7 runs, something like that. We saw a lot more of this in the cross-country world just because it isn't, you don't wear off as much wax as quickly as you do sliding down the mountain. Next up to bat, probably the most important one is a hot wax. Hot waxing is the best way to wax your gear. The reason why is because it gets in there, it super saturates the base, and it lasts a lot longer than a liquid wax. So there's all sorts of different types of glide wax out there. You're going to see that it's sold in small packages, bigger bulk packages. You can have universals. Universals are designed for any temperature. They won't be as fast as a specific temperature range, but they will work in any temperature. If you have a specific in terms of temperature range, the wax is going to be significantly faster. People often ask, how often should I wax my gear? Realistically, how fast you want to go. The more you wax your skis or board, the faster they will go. And that's a universal truth. If you were to take your skis home, wax and scrape them 10 times back to back, they will be faster than they would be if you waxed them once. It super saturates the base. So what happens after waxing? After waxing, so you've used an iron to heat your wax into the base. It's also important that you heat it at a certain temperature. Most waxes will have that temperature written right on the wax. If you don't know what temperature it is, you can probably find it online. So you set your iron to a certain temperature. The reason why I go over that is because a lot of people use just a a standard iron for clothing. The problem with that is that you don't know what temperature cotton is or what temperature linen is. You need to know the temperatures to melt the wax properly, because if you melt it too hot, you'll burn the additives out of it. Too low, it won't penetrate the base enough. So you do need to wax at specific temperatures, and actually specific temperatures for different waxes. So different waxes, the colder they are, the higher the temperature you need to actually put them into the base. Okay, so we've waxed our skis or our board. The next basic step that you're going to do after that is going to be to scrape it. We've just put a bunch of wax on there and I'm telling you to scrape it off. It's kind of odd, but all the wax that's actually saturated into the base, that's the stuff that's going to make you go fast. It's not the residue. The residue will actually slow you down. So you use a scraper. This is a 5mm polycarbonate scraper, and you're basically just going to run it down the ski and pull the excess wax off the ski. After you finish scraping the entire board, you're going to do another step, or you should do another step, which is brushing the ski. Bases have all these little wee structures in them that are kind of shaped like canoes. They're all lined up on your ski. And you need to brush all the wax out of those canoe shapes. The flat scraper hasn't gotten into the canoes. This will get down into those canoe shapes. You're gonna go forward and backward. A lot of times, or I was told initially, to only do things from tip to tail on your ski or your board. In terms of scraping or in terms of brushing, that is not accurate. You actually want to brush for sure in both directions, because the canoes are shaped like that and you want to get the wax out of the tip and the tail of the canoe. So you have to work both directions to get it out. Again, only the wax that has saturated into the base is going to make you go faster, so cleaning that wax off is actually doing a better job. If you go online and take a look at, say for example, Swick's Waxing, they've got these huge waxing clinics that go much more in depth. You can get very, very scientific about this. I'm giving a basic waxing instructional. So it's not designed for a World Cup athlete, it's just designed for somebody that wants to stop paying a shop to wax their skis and they'd like to learn how to wax their skis themselves. So that's a little bit about glide wax on alpine and snowboard. The thing that's different on cross country is you have the center of the ski on cross country. If you don't have a mechanical gripping ski, meaning fish scales they're commonly called, or the new skin technology, you're going to need to apply a wax that's actually sticky and grips to get your kick in cross-country skiing. So in cross-country skiing, there's two phases. There's called your kick phase and your glide phase. So when you transition your weight completely onto one foot, you compress the ski, you put those scales, or you put that grip wax down into the snow and you need to kick off of it to get forward momentum. So how you get that forward momentum and the type of wax you use is called grip wax, commonly sold in little cylinders like this. So to grip wax your ski, you're going to find out where your grip pocket is. Your local shop can help you do that. Find out where your grip pocket is on the ski, because you don't want to wax too big of a surface or too small of a surface. You're just not going to get correct grip. So you're going to use this wax within your grip pocket. You're going to just basically take off the lid and you're just going to rub it on inside of the grip pocket, and you're going to cork it in with a cork. The cork generates heat, very similar to glide wax, so that the wax bonds to the base. You're better to use thin layers of grip wax instead of a big, thick, cakey layer. So doing multiple layers. Crayon it on, cork it. Crayon it on, cork it. Again, grip wax, there is a lot of very, very technical things you can get into with grip wax. There's guys that are using base binders, all sorts of technical stuff. Again, you can get help from your local shop on that kind of stuff, or you can go online and learn in depth. Once you've got the basics, learn in depth on what the best practices are for every temperature, every snow type, all that kind of stuff. When grip wax just won't cut it, this is getting, usually in the warmer temperatures, it's what's called transformed snow. So it's kind of like that slushy snow, or that snow that doesn't have as many spines on it or rough edges. It's more smoothed over because it's melted and frozen a few times. You have to start to use Klister. Klister is kind of like the consistency of a thick syrup, like corn syrup or molasses, a little thicker than that. And this stuff is very gooey to work with, but this is what's replaced in your grip zone for grip wax in those conditions. And again, can be corked in. To clean that kind of stuff off, your grip wax and stuff like that, you're going to use a base cleaner. It's a citrus solvent base cleaner. Please don't use Varsols or paint thinners or stuff like that on your base. It actually melts your base and wrecks it. You're going to want to use a much gentler cleaner on it. This is citrus, orange peels in essence. There's a little bit more stuff in it than just that, but it's much gentler on your base and won't wreck your base or melt it. So to clean off excess wax before you start prepping your ski, you can use that. One little thing that I'll touch on that's kind of new in the industry and kind of interesting is those skin skis. So those skin skis that uses the skin technology for grip, the skin replaces the grip section of fish scales commonly or grip wax. So in that area, it's a skin material and you can put skincare on that. What it does is it allows the skin to glide more freely so that when you get into those zero temperatures that are going to cause snow to start clumping onto the skin, it will shed the snow a lot better and allow you to glide much better. So this is skincare, something that's kind of new with the invention of skin skis. And the absolute last thing I want to talk about is that we talked a lot about grip wax on cross-country skis. Cross-country skis have a glide portion of their ski as well. So we talked about doing grip wax in the middle grip pocket of the skis. The tip and the tail, you treat just like a snowboard or just like alpine skis, sorry, with a glide wax. You apply it the same, you scrape it the same, you do the whole same procedure for the glide zones. So in terms of glide, cross-country and alpine snowboard are no different. In terms of grip, cross-country is the only category that's going to use that special either grip wax or those skins or the mechanical base that I was talking about. But you know what? That wraps up a little bit of talking about waxing. There is so much more to learn about it, but this will give you a starting point. And again, if you have any questions, contact your local shop. They'll be happy to explain what you need for each condition. Thanks for watching. Hi, Mike from Jerk Sports here, and it's time to gear up. Today we're going to talk about helmets. A lot of times people walk into a bike shop, they look at the huge wall of helmets, and they get a little confused. They look a lot the same, and there's price ranges from low to high. People want to know what they're getting for their money, whether they're getting a safer helmet, what the deal is. I'm going to try to help you get through a little bit of that here today. As a general rule with helmets, if you have standard technology in them, you're going to have your low-end helmet up to your high-end helmet. Your low-end helmet is going to have less breathability, is going to be not quite as comfortable probably, but will offer roughly the same safety protection. What I really want to get at in this one is that there are a few technologies out there that can actually help you. So first off, your standard mountain bike helmets. With those guys, they start at low end, they move to high end. As a general rule within those, as you move up in them, they get more airflow put into them. Like this helmet has a lot more airflow put into it. The reason why that's nice is on a hot day, you get a ton of airflow through the helmet and it keeps you cool. Does it help any more with safety? No, it doesn't. The reason why you pay more for this helmet is to make it just as structurally sound, but have more airflow move through the helmet. You're going to get a little bit of comfort as you move up in the price of helmet, but as a general rule, again, helmets are pretty darn comfortable, even at the low end. The thing that I really want to talk about is things that will make you safer out there on the trails or out on the road. One of the things that they've realized in helmets is that the protection of a helmet doesn't necessarily just come from the strong shell that's around your head with foam underneath it. What they're finding is that most concussions are actually caused by your brain rotating in your skull. So it's not due to the blunt force trauma that comes from out here, it's more due to your brain rotating in your skull. Some guys have come up with a new technology, and that new technology is called MIPS. MIPS is a technology that's built into the helmet that allows the helmet to rotate on impact. If the helmet rotates, it allows for your head or your brainstem not to rotate. So it cushions that force. So that is real technology that will help you in a big crash, in a crash that, say, you may get a concussion from. The other thing out there in the industry is carbon fiber. A lot of people think that carbon fiber is strictly a weight savings tool, makes it look cool, all that kind of stuff. But to tell you the honest truth, carbon fiber dissipates an impact far greater than plastic in your least expensive helmet, fiberglass in your mid-class helmets. Carbon fiber dissipates the most impact. I saw a really neat study done by a chemist, and what he did is he took a ball of plastic, a ball of fiberglass, and a ball of carbon fiber. He dropped them all from the same height to see how high they would bounce. In essence, to see how much they would absorb. The plastic ball, he dropped from chest height, it came up to about his waist. The fiberglass ball, he dropped, it came up to about knee height. The carbon fiber ball he dropped, it pretty much died on the ground. What that means to you wearing the helmet is that the force that comes into the helmet is dissipated through the shell versus coming through to you and reacting or bouncing. So that's a few things about helmet safety that hopefully help you make your decision. Thanks again.